El Tigre. The Adventures of Manny Rivera may not have lasted long, but it left a lasting impression with its high-energy action, humor, and unique take on heroism and villainy. Despite its short run, there's plenty to explore in this wild, stylized world of superpowered showdowns. So, without further ado, let's dive into the complete story of El Tigre from start to finish. In the very first episode of El Tigre, The Adventures of Manny Rivera, we meet Manny Rivera is your average 13-year-old, if average includes a magical belt that gives superpowers. Life gets wild fast when you're the son of the heroic White Pantera and grandson of the villainous Puma Loco. When Manny and his best friend Frida find White Pantera's legendary boots, once worn by Puma Loco, Frida convinces him to take them for a spin. Cue high-speed chaos across Miracle City. That is, until they break the boots. Desperate, they sneak them back onto White Pantera's feet just before he fights El Oso, a bear-themed brute. Predictably, Pantera gets wrecked. Convinced he's too old, he falls into a funk, forcing Manny to pile lie on top of lie, until he finally confesses. Thankfully, the boots get fixed, but Manny learns a lesson. Maybe not borrow superhero gear without asking. In the next segment of the episode, Manny develops an obsession for a tattoo. This drives him to take the money he was supposed to buy guacamole with and buy, you already know, a tattoo maker. Frida, the devil on the left shoulder, encouraged him to do so. They ended up buying the guacamole from a shady old lady for free. They take it back to home, and after eating it, his father and grandpa turn to monsters. This, of course, freaked the two kids even more, but finally Manny decided to make his mistakes right and managed to take the guacamole out of them. But the avocado comes to life. What should have been a simple side dish mutates into a massive, rampaging monster with an appetite for destruction. Finally, Manny jumps into the monster's mouth, lands in its stomach, and pours real guacamole, destroying the beast from the inside. After barely surviving a rampaging guacamole monster, you'd think Manny would take a break from making terrible decisions. But instead of learning his lesson, he's about to get tangled in an even bigger mess, one involving Frida's birthday. Frida's birthday is coming up and she has one request: Manny making her a piñata. Easy, right? Wrong. Enter Zoe Aves, aka Black Cuervo, a supervillain and Manny's new crush.
Huh?
Blinded by love, Manny spends all his time chasing Zoe, completely ignoring Frida's birthday project. Frida, understandably, is furious. Things go from bad to worse when Black Cuervo's villainous family gets involved. In the end, Manny snaps out of it, picks Frida over Zoe, and the two take down Cuervo together. Frida gets the best birthday ever, complete with a dramatic showdown. Lesson learned? Best friends first, villain crushes never. After all this, Manny and Frida go back to their questionable decisions. The duo sees a fancy Luxus scooter but doesn't have money to buy them. So, while contemplating solutions, they decide the easiest way to make cash is by borrowing people's pets and waiting for the inevitable missing posters to go up. Once the desperate owners offer a reward, they heroically find and return the animals. At first, it works. The money rolls in, and their Lux scooter dreams seem within reach. But, as always, things escalate fast. Their harmless hustle soon turns into a full-blown disaster, involving angrier pet owners, chaos in Miracle City, and the realization that maybe stealing pets for profit is a terrible idea. The third episode begins with Manny's soccer team gearing up for a big match. But there's a problem. His dad, Rodolfo, can't coach. Normally, this wouldn't be a crisis, except their opponents are led by General Chapuza, a zombie warlord with a talent for unsportsmanlike destruction. Enter Grandpapi Rivera, who happily steps in as coach. His strategy is to cheat a lot, cheat creatively. While Rodolfo would have encouraged honor and fair play, Grandpapi believes in winning by any means necessary, traps, distractions, and Manny's superpowers. But then Manny hesitates as his morality kicks in. He refuses to cheat, and they end up losing. Rodolfo appreciates his son, but the others not so much. After all this chaos one day, Manny takes it upon himself to help his classmates make better decisions. At first, it's simple, giving advice, solving problems, and guiding his friends toward the right path. But leadership has its pitfalls, and before long, Manny's guidance turns into commands. Instead of helping, he's dictating. Instead of suggesting, he's ordering. In no time, he's bossing everyone around, convinced that only he knows what's best. This pulls Señor Siniestro, a supervillain classmate with a talent for manipulation who tries to overthrow him collaborating with the others. But this also spirals out of control, and Manny ends up having to fight Señor Siniestro. He did end up winning the fight and ends the episode with an apology to his classmates. In the next episode, the school's zebra donkey mascot comes to the picture. Donkey! Manny and Frida are put in charge of babysitting their school's beloved zebra donkey. This is an easy enough task for two totally responsible kids, which they absolutely are not. Manny ends up giving the zebra donkey bananas, which ends up killing him. Faced with the horrifying reality of explaining this to their classmates, they do what any rational people would do. Look for a way to bring it back to life. They stole the legendary magic guitar of Sartana of the Dead, Miracle City's most feared supervillain, and used it to bring the zebra donkey back to life. This, of course, triggers Sartana, and a fight ensues. Zebra Donkey ends up destroying the guitar and making things right for the kids. But while raising the dead was dangerous, nothing could prepare Manny for something even worse: the possibility of losing Frida. Manny and Frida have been friends through everything. That is, until Titanium Titan, Rodolfo's ex-sidekick turned supervillain, attacks, and Frida gets caught in the crossfire. Her father, Chief Suarez, the head of Miracle City's police, has had enough. Seeing his daughter injured because of Manny's reckless, superpowered life, he makes a final decision. He forbids Frida to be friends with Manny. Manny accepted the decision, but this depressed the two friends. After a long time of being separated, they decided to be friends again, but Titanium Titan kidnaps Frida. Manny goes to his house to fight him, and the two friends teamed up. They won the fight, and their friendship revived. The fifth episode begins with an announcement of Manny's mother coming back. She left everything behind after getting tired of Rodolfo's superhero adventures. Manny sees this as a second chance. If he can just prove that Miracle City isn't as terrible as she remembers, maybe she'll stay for good and not take him with her. But convincing her won't be easy. Miracle City is, well, a complete disaster. Crime is everywhere, villains run wild, and chaos is basically the city's defining trait. Manny tries to show her the good side of the city and of himself. But his efforts were all pointless because Maria was back to stay for good in the first place. She was the librarian in the city. This gives Manny the one thing he's always wanted: a chance to have both parents in his life. In the second segment, Frida and Manny manage to get themselves in trouble again, and this time it is community service. As punishment for yet another reckless disaster, Manny and Frida are sentenced to community service at a retirement home for old supervillains. At first, it seems like a boring chore, feeding ex-criminals, listening to their wild stories about past crimes, and trying to avoid getting pranked by a bunch of bitter, washed-up evildoers. But then the villains make an unexpected request. Years ago, their fortune was stolen by Sartana of the Dead, and now, in their old age, they want one last shot at getting it back. Manny and Frida offered to help, and the elders showed their already made-up plan. They attempt to steal Sartana's gold, but she catches them and takes Frida hostage. On top of this, Sartana didn't actually steal from the elders. They just sent them to rob her. At the end, they all teamed up together to fight Sartana, including the elders, and managed to take Frida back. The sixth episode revolves around Manny and Frida getting into a school crisis. Manny and Frida have a bad habit. They are always late to school. Unfortunately for them, Vice Principal Chakal has had enough. After one too many disruptions, excuses, and last-minute dashes through the door, he delivers an ultimatum. If they are late one more time, they will get executed. And all they have to do is just wake up on time and go to school, but no matter how hard they try, something always goes wrong. Siniestro, always looking for new ways to make Manny's life miserable, sees an opportunity. He sets up obstacle after obstacle to keep Manny and Frida from making it to school on time. What follows is a mad dash across Miracle City, dodging villains, cops, traffic, explosions, and Siniestro's relentless sabotage. Despite all this, Manny and Frida manage to pass all this and avoid getting expelled. The store party quickly spirals into absolute chaos as Miracle City's rowdiest kids crash the Mafia's turf, turning their secret lair into a dance floor, a food fight arena, and a full-on battle zone. They collaborated to fight, and they finally defeated the villain. After the tiring battle, they get invited to a gathering and attend with their classmates, ending the chaos and fun. The next episode opens with Manny getting kicked out of a movie for being a kid. So he decided that having a mustache is the key to adulthood, power, and instant respect. Unfortunately, puberty is taking its sweet time, and growing one naturally isn't an option. He and Frida tried everything, with each of them failing drastically, so he does what any desperate, impatient kid would do. He turns to Dr. Chipotle Jr., a mad scientist with a passion for Mexican cuisine and cursed inventions. Dr. Chipotle Jr. gives him exactly what he wants and takes Manny's belt. Manny named his mustache Raul. At first, Manny did not mind losing his belt, but Dr. Chipotle ends up causing a problem. He made Raul turn Manny against his friends. But Manny takes his belt back and wins the battle. But this also meant the end of his mustache friend. The next segment begins with Rodolfo trying to impress Maria, which got ruined by Manny and his father. Grandpapi, as always, was playing the villain. Rodolfo, as a concerned father, confides Maria about Grandpapi moving out of the house. Manny hears this and is naturally devastated. Desperate to prove Grandpapi isn't a lost cause, Manny and Frida come up with a ridiculous plan. If Grandpapi's reputation is the problem, then they'll fix it themselves, by impersonating him. Using his legendary golden sombrero of chaos, Manny and Frida pretend to be Puma Loco, but as heroes. But when Grandpapi reads the newspaper, he gets angry at the bad news. When he gets out of the house, he sees everyone basically worshipping him. This freaked the villain out. Seeing this, Manny and Frida decided to undo all the good things they did. Their action was finally discovered, but they didn't face the wrath that they expected to face, so all was well. Now, just as Manny recovers from that fiasco, his mother, Maria, throws him another unexpected curveball. She's taking on Miracle City's crime problem, but not by fighting villains, by reforming them. Maria chooses El Oso, Dr. Chipotle Sr., and El Cucharo as her first test subjects, giving them legitimate jobs and helping them become law-abiding citizens. Manny and Frida, convinced that villains don't just change overnight, follow them in secret, expecting them to go back to their evil ways at any moment. At first, things seem shockingly normal. El Oso works hard, Dr. Chipotle Sr. actually seems invested, and even El Cucharo is trying. But Manny refuses to believe it. He's certain this is all an act. And yes, he is right. They are conspiring behind her, and Maria comes back home to a chaotic confrontation between Manny and them. They all ended up going back to prison except El Cucharo, who had changed for real. In the second segment, the 200th annual celebration of heroes, Manny is excited, but he cannot pass the hero meter. Despite all his heroic efforts, Manny is kicked out of the annual hero celebration for not being a full hero. Frustrated and humiliated, Manny starts questioning everything. Maybe they're right. Maybe he'll never be a true hero. But he gets an opportunity to show that he is a hero when Sartana attacks while all the heroes are stuck in the event. He fought Sartana and proved himself. The 9th episode begins with Manny getting bullied, but with him being oblivious to all of it. Unless one of bullies called Rodolfo a coward. As expected, Manny turned El Tigre on them, and Maria showed up to stop it. In the library, Manny told his mother that the kids accused his father of running away from a battle against El Malverde, a massive superhero-eating giant, expecting her to deny it. Even back at home, both his father and grandfather freaked out at the mention of the name. After his father confirmed the truth, Manny decided to take matters into his own hands. He goes to fight El Malverde, but he ends up getting eaten. Rodolfo came to the rescue and saved Manny. They survived this fight, but a new one was yet to come. One from far beyond Miracle City. From Shogun City comes the legendary 7th Samurai, a noble warrior and superhero. Along with him is his son, Toshiro.
Mother? There! Hello, Mr. White Pantera. Hello, Mr. El Tigre. Hello, Ms. Little Troublemaking Friend. Hello, Mr. Pirate.
Toshiro is overly polite, soft-spoken, and completely unwilling to fight back. 7th Samurai, believing his son needs to toughen up, brings him to Miracle City, hoping that Manny and Frida's wild, chaotic energy will teach him how to stand up for himself. Manny and Frida did as they were told and found him a villain to fight. He fought the villain and managed to win. His father has never been proud of his son as much as he was this time. The next episode of El Tigre introduces us to Davi, a little kid who is 100% convinced he is the legendary superhero Albino Burrito. Davi idolizes El Tigre and dreams of becoming a great hero. Seeing an opportunity, Manny and Frida agree to train him, but in reality, they just use him to do their chores. Everything went well until Davy touched a button that released a robot of Puma Loco that was made for destruction. The family teamed up to fight the robot, but they got overwhelmed. Davi came to the rescue and defeated the robot, shocking everyone. The second segment begins with Frida getting kidnapped and getting rescued by the Rivera family. Finally, she gets fed up with having no superpowers, and at night, she stole Manny's belt and went out to fight her kidnappers. She keeps doing it every night with the name of La Tigresa and faces Sartana. But she ends up losing the belt to Sartana. Manny connects the dots and realizes Frida is La Tigresa. He goes to Sartana and takes back his belt. With his power back and with Frida's help, they escaped Sartana's grip. In the next episode, the Frida delve into another adventure. She writes a catchy song about El Tigre's greatest failure, his embarrassing defeat at the hands of Sartana of the Dead. What starts as a fun little tune blows up overnight, becoming Miracle City's biggest hit. Manny is mortified. To make matters worse, Sartana loves the song. She's delighted by her newfound theme music, using it to taunt Manny at every opportunity. This caused a problem between the two friends, and Frida takes a moment to realize where Manny is coming from. Manny, trying to prove everyone wrong, fights Sartana. He started to get overwhelmed and eventually almost got defeated, but Frida came to rescue, saving Manny and reconciling with Manny. But peace never lasts long in Miracle City, especially when Grandpappy gets involved. Grandpappy drags Manny and Frida into the most dangerous street race in Miracle City, competing against the city's worst villains. If the Riveras lose, they'll be exiled from Miracle City forever. Manny, Frida, and Grandpappy must navigate deadly traps, sabotage, and ruthless competition, all while keeping their barely functioning vehicle from falling apart. When things seemed to go down, Rodolfo arrived and helped them win the race. But just when they think they can finally relax, an old nightmare returns on the next episode, Raul, the world's greatest mustache. Chief Suarez accuses Raul of a major crime, putting Miracle City's most dangerous living mustache behind bars. To clear Raul's name, Manny and Frida must infiltrate the Mustache Mafia, the very organization they accidentally angered during their Party Monsters fiasco. However, he becomes distracted by the allure of their lifestyle, jeopardizing his mission. Ultimately, Manny realizes his mistake, refocuses on his goal, and successfully exposes the true culprits, vindicating Raul. Manny then comes back home to face far more horrifying than crime bosses or cursed facial hair. Grandpappy is in love. And not just with anyone. He's fallen for Sartana of the Dead. Manny and Frida plot to sabotage the wedding, but nothing works. Until Manny gets desperate. He steals a sacred jewel from Monsterzuma, hoping the ensuing destruction will break them up. It works, too well. Monsterzuma attacks, but instead of fleeing, Sartana keeps the jewel, proving she loves power more than Puma Loco. Heartbroken, Grandpappy calls off the wedding. Sartana, unfazed, leaves with her prize. The Rivera family unites to defeat Monsterzuma, and while Puma Loco mourns his loss, he knows he dodged a much bigger catastrophe. In this episode, Manny starts his chaos with winning a bet from Lady Gobbler and taking her glass eye, He then unknowingly hands his father's downfall to the enemy, a glass eye from Lady Gobbler, secretly embedded with a spy camera. The Flock of Fury, Lady Gobbler, Voltura, and Black Cuervo use it to sabotage White Pantera, turning him into a laughingstock and costing him his superhero license. Shamed and sidelined, Rodolfo is devastated. But when Manny realizes the truth, he sets a trap, using his mother as bait to lure the villains into a final showdown. With Frida and Puma Loco at his side, Manny outsmarts the Flock of Fury, defeats them, and restores his father's honor. In the end, the Riveras stand stronger than ever, proving that their legacy won't be so easily destroyed. But just as the Riveras reclaim their heroic legacy, an old ally returns, testing their faith in redemption once more. The Titanium Titan, White Pantera's former sidekick-turned-villain, comes back to Miracle City, swearing he's changed. Wanting to believe in redemption, Manny and Rodolfo accept him as an ally. At first, the partnership seems to work, but soon, Titan reveals his true colors. He was only using them to gain their trust before betraying them. A climactic battle erupts, with Manny and his father fighting to take down their former friend. In the end, Titanium Titan is defeated, proving that not everyone deserves a second chance. The story then shifts to Dia de los Muertos. Manny and Frida mess up big time. They eat sacred offerings meant for Dia de los Muertos, thinking it's just free snacks. Turns out those offerings were kind of important, because now Sartana of the Dead is using the power of forgotten souls to unleash a monster on Miracle City. Before they can even panic properly, Manny and Frida get yoinked into the land of the dead, where they meet their very opinionated ancestors, including the original El Tigre. They get a crash course in respecting tradition, teamwork, and, oh yeah, not eating cursed food. Armed with ancestral wisdom and pure desperation, they return to the living world, stop Sartana's monster, and just in time for the holiday feast. Manny had just faced his ancestors, learned the importance of tradition, and saved Miracle City from Sartana's undead wrath. One would think he'd walk away wiser, more respectful, and a little less reckless. One would be wrong. Because after he's back in the land of the living, he pulls another classic Manny move, accidentally destroying something priceless. Vice Principal Chaco's grandmother's recipe book. Rather than own up to his mistake, Manny does what any strategic thinker would do. He convinces Albino Burrito to take the blame. The price is full week as Manny's sidekick. Albino Burrito takes his new role with complete seriousness, assigning missions, enforcing training drills, and ensuring that Manny adheres to the most ridiculous superhero traditions. The worst of it all is the costume. Manny finds himself parading around Miracle City dressed as the Mighty Moose, complete with antlers, a fur-trimmed cape, and a level of embarrassment he didn't think was possible. By the end of it, the duo ended up causing an explosion that Vice Principal is a victim of. Just as Manny is settling back into his usual chaos, a golden opportunity arrives. The League of Alliance Society, an elite team of legendary heroes, comes to Miracle City. Their mission? To hunt the mythical dragon worm. And to Manny's absolute delight, they seek El Tigre's assistance. However, the truth behind the League's request soon emerges. They never sought El Tigre for his skill. They intended to use him as bait. Instead of letting himself be used, Manny and Rodolfo turn the tables, fighting back against the League's deception and taking on the dragon worm together. With the dragon worm defeated, the League leaves Miracle City empty-handed, and Manny and Rodolfo stand victorious. The next episode takes us to Grandpappy. Grandpappy has always wanted Manny to embrace his villainous heritage, but Manny's constant tug-of-war between hero and villain frustrates him. So, in a fit of pettiness and scheming, he takes on a new apprentice, the Cactus Kid, a minor villain from San Pueblito. He wants to make Manny jealous enough to return to the dark side. Initially, the plan works too well and Manny starts to question his heroism. But fueled by ambition, Cactus Kid's powers evolve, allowing him to summon cactus warriors, turning him into a real threat. What started as a petty scheme spirals into chaos, forcing Grandpappy to admit he's lost control. Now, Manny and Grandpappy must team up to stop the monster he created. In the end, Manny reaffirms that he doesn't need to choose hero or villain, just himself. One day, Manny learned something about his mother. Maria was once the legendary superheroine Plata Peligrosa. Discovering her glove of power, he persuades her to return to crime fighting, eager to see her reclaim her heroic legacy. At first, Maria embraces the role, but soon, heroism consumes her. She becomes obsessed, even freeing villains from jail just to fight them, desperate to relive her glory days. Realizing the danger of her fixation, Maria makes the hard choice to retire once more, understanding that some battles aren't worth losing yourself over. In the 17th episode, Sartana of the Dead retires, initiating a tournament for villains to claim her mystic guitar. Manny enters the tournament, lured by the respect and power the guitar would bring, despite his family's objections. Facing ruthless adversaries, including his own family, he battles his way through, torn between ambition and loyalty. But when his father and grandpappy are put in danger, Manny makes his choice, saving them instead of seizing power. Rejecting the path of evil, he reaffirms his commitment to his family and the side of good, proving that true strength lies not in power but in the choices we make. During the chaos, the guitar also got destroyed. In the next episode, Manny throws a party against his father, warning not to. Manny's reckless party spirals out of control, leading to the destruction of their home and the presumed death of Senior Chappie. Overwhelmed with guilt and desperate to fix his mistake, Manny hatches a bold plan, stealing from Miracle City's most notorious villains to fund the repairs. At first, the scheme seems foolproof, but Manny soon underestimates the danger. His thefts attract the attention of the city's most dangerous criminals, including Sartana, forcing him into a deadly confrontation. Through the chaos, Manny learns a harsh but necessary lesson. Responsibility isn't just about fixing mistakes, it's about not making them in the first place. Then comes a problem with the pets. Senor Chappie and Little Mule's cherished sombrero-shaped chew toy goes missing, stolen by the neighboring goat and rooster. Determined to reclaim their prized possession, the duo embarks on a series of increasingly ridiculous heists, each attempt more outrageous than the last. What follows is a hilarious tribute to classic slapstick comedy, filled with over-the-top chases, elaborate traps, and exaggerated mayhem. Despite their relentless endeavors, Senor Chappie and Little Mule's plans are thwarted, leaving them to reflect on their misadventures as the Rivera family returns home, oblivious to the chaos that transpired in their absence. This time, Manny had upset Rudolfo after disrupting a mission with his father. Desperate to prove himself, Manny pretends to date Black Cuervo to gather intel on her family's criminal activities. Black Cuervo, who genuinely likes Manny, is overjoyed, believing their romance to be real. Meanwhile, Manny secretly feeds information to Rodolfo, helping White Pantera sabotage the villain's plans. But when Black Cuervo discovers the truth, everything shatters. She lashes out, leading to an intense battle between them. Black Cuervo declares she's done with him and leaves. Next up comes the zombie virus. Manny discovers that Frida has been cursed, thanks to a tiny zombie that latched onto her head. As the infection spreads, she starts fully transforming into a brain-hungry creature. Desperate for a cure, Manny turns to Grandpappy, who tells him that the only way to break the curse is by dunking Frida into the Fountain of Agua Negra, a legendary and highly dangerous sacred pool in Zombie Town. But the problem is, Manny is not liked by the dead. After a chaotic battle, Manny manages to dunk Frida into the sacred waters, just in time to break the curse. On the next episode, Frida struggled with family's expectations. Frida has always felt overshadowed by her twin sisters, who seem to effortlessly earn their father's praise and admiration. Desperate to prove herself, she joins the junior police cadets, determined to make Chief Suarez proud. Struggling with the training, she takes credit for Manny's heroics, earning badges and praise without the effort. Everything goes smoothly, until her sisters grow suspicious and the Mustache Mafia attacks. Frida is thrust into a real fight, forced to prove her worth without shortcuts. Realizes that courage and honesty matter more than shortcuts. The next segment takes us to another story. After defeating giant robot Sanchez, Manny and Frida hijack his massive robotic body for fun. But the autopilot takes them straight to Robotropolis, where they meet Sanchez's wife and kids, Robio and Andra. Mistaken for their robotic dad, Manny and Frida play along, leading the kids on wild, reckless adventures. At first, it's all fun and chaos, but when the kids land in real danger, Manny realizes that being responsible is harder than it looks. Just as everything spirals out of control, Sanchez reboots, surprisingly grateful they looked after his family. Manny and Frida make a quick escape, with Manny gaining a new respect for his father's struggles because being in charge is never as easy as it seems. The story then takes us to Maria. Maria Rivera rediscovers her Plata Peligrosa power glove and decides to return to superhero life. Manny and Frida are thrilled, while Rodolfo is smitten with her crime-fighting persona. At first, Maria balances her responsibilities well, teaming up with Rodolfo to take down villains like El Oso and giant robot Sanchez. However, the thrill of heroism starts consuming her, and she struggles to control the power of the glove. When she pushes past her time limit, her behavior becomes erratic, forcing her to reconsider her priorities. In the end, Maria chooses to retire again, realizing that being a mother and keeping her family together is more important than being a superhero. One day, Manny stumbles upon a strange but adorable creature in his garage and decides to keep it as a pet, naming it Chui. At first, Chui seems harmless, and Manny is thrilled to finally have a pet of his own. However, strange things start happening in Miracle City. Goats begin disappearing at an alarming rate. Unbeknownst to Manny, Chui is actually a chupacabra, a legendary beast with an insatiable hunger for goats. As suspicion grows, Manny struggles to hide his new pet, torn between his attachment to Chui and the increasing danger to the town's livestock. When Chui's instincts become uncontrollable, Manny realizes he has no choice but to let him go. Heartbroken but understanding the responsibility of pet ownership, he releases Chui back into the wild. But he came back to save Manny during a fight. This ends with Chui falling into a volcano and breaking Manny's and Frida's hearts. In the next episode, Dr. Chipotle Jr. and Senor Siniestro both develop crushes on Frida and mistakenly believe that Manny is standing in their way. To win her over, they launch a series of ridiculous schemes to eliminate Manny, treating their rivalry like a competition for Frida's heart. However, their plans backfire spectacularly, with Manny dodging every trap, often with Frida unknowingly making things worse for the villains. As their jealousy escalates into full-blown chaos, the two villains end up sabotaging each other. In the end, Frida remains oblivious to their affections, and Manny and Frida's unshakable friendship proves that no amount of villainous scheming can come between them. Manny needs a date for the school dance. Frida, refusing to go with him out of sheer embarrassment, reluctantly pairs up with Senor Siniestro instead. Not wanting to show up alone, Manny sets his sights on a trio of bad girls, determined to impress them. But when trying too hard to look cool leads to disaster. He literally went through a series of destructions only to get ignored, and finally he gave up. Frida also abandoned her partner, and the two end up going together, and the night turned out to be better than they expected. In this episode, Manny and Frida head into the woods with El Oso, who has fallen head over paws for the bear princess. Determined to help him win her heart, they coach him on how to impress her.
Daughter of the Bear King. It was like true love at first times I looked my eyes at her, you know?
However, things get complicated when the other bears, including the Bear King, strongly disapprove of El Oso's affections. The duo must navigate bear culture, rival suitors, and a whole lot of wild obstacles to help their friend find love. In the end, El Oso learns that true love isn't about trying to impress. It's about being himself. And himself is a little bit of trouble. In the next segment, Manny is furious when Frida starts hanging out with Silverwolf, a smooth-talking, motorcycle-riding teen supervillain who oozes coolness. Desperate to prove he's just as cool, Manny challenges Silverwolf, leading to a series of reckless stunts and increasingly bad decisions. However, when Silverwolf's villainous nature puts Frida in real danger, Manny steps up, not to outshine his rival, but to protect his best friend. In the end, Frida reassures Manny that no flashy biker villain could ever replace him. In another episode, Frida is convinced that Zoe Aves is actually Black Cuervo in disguise, But no one believes her, not even Manny. When the three are assigned to work together on a school science project, Frida and Manny seize the opportunity to prove her theory. As she sets up increasingly elaborate tests to expose Zoe, Manny struggles to keep things under control, worried that Frida's paranoia will blow their cover as well. However, as the project unfolds, Black Cuervo appears and attacks Zoe. The episode concludes after Manny and the other apologies for suspecting her. But the Black Cuervo that appeared was actually Zoe's mother, and Zoe is indeed Black Cuervo. In another story, Rodolfo wants Manny to learn discipline and heroism, so he arranges for him to train with the Golden Eagle twins, a famous superhero duo. At first, Manny is excited. These heroes are beloved by the public and have an incredible reputation. However, as he spends more time with them, he realizes they are actually villains in disguise, using their heroic status to get away with crime. When Manny calls them out, they turn on him, framing him for their misdeeds. Manny fights back to clear his name, but that kind of put him in the hospital. In this episode, Father's Day is around the corner, and both Manny and Dr. Chipotle Jr. struggle to find the perfect gift for their respective dads. So they stage a fake hero versus villain showdown where Manny rescues Rodolfo from the Chipotles. This way, Manny will look like a hero, and the Chipotles will score a villainous win. But as expected, Dr. Chipotle betrayed Manny. Manny managed to control the situation at the end, and Rodolfo is grateful for Manny's attempt to make him happy. Manny is pulled into mustache drama once again when Raul, the world's greatest mustache, falls for Brauzia, a giant unibrow belonging to Sophia, a loud and eccentric girl. Determined to impress her, Raul begs Manny to help him win her over. However, Sophia's over-the-top personality makes things far more complicated than expected. At the end, Raul managed to win Brauzia's admiration and they got married. The final episode of the series takes us to Manny's school. Manny's school hosts a special exhibition featuring the Silver Scorpion of Sonora, a legendary artifact rumored to be cursed. Grandpappy sees the perfect opportunity for a heist. To get close to the relic, he joins Manny at school under the pretense of helping with his education. When Grandpappy finally makes his move, things spiral out of control. The curse of the Silver Scorpion turns out to be real, and the entire school is thrown into chaos. Grandpappy still insists on taking the artifact, but Manny realizes that the only way to fix the mess is to return it. In a climactic moment, Manny outsmarts his grandfather, saving the school from disaster. In the last segment of the series, a family counselor visits the Rivera household. She declares that their family dynamic is too dependent on their hero and villain roles. To help them bond as normal people, she confiscates Manny's belt, Rodolfo's boots, and Grandpappy's sombrero, stripping them of their signature powers. At first, the Riveras try to adapt, but without their gear, they feel utterly helpless. But things take a drastic turn when every villain in Miracle City realizes that the Rivera family is powerless. Seizing the opportunity, a full-scale villain uprising breaks out, and the city descends into chaos. Seeing this, the counselor returned their items and they got their power back. Using their wits, experience, and teamwork, they managed to outsmart the villains and restore order to Miracle City. And there you have it, the entire story of El Tigre, the Adventures of Manny Rivera. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your favorite moments in the comments.